afternoon. Today is Thursday, April 4th, 2013. This is the Athens City Planning Commission meeting, and we have established a quorum. Did the members have a chance to take a look at the minutes from the last meeting? Is there any questions, additions, concerns?
No, I don't think so. I'll move that we accept the minutes of, what's the date on it? 21st, March 21st.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yeah, she did
Seconded?
say.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
The disposition of the minutes has been accepted. Our one case today is case number 13-04, Optima Networks, for a addition to the tower, as I understand it, that they wish to do on 7746 North Blackburn Road. Mr. Paskey, could you update our viewers again what this is all about?
Yes, and he is available by phone if we do need to call him if you have any questions. The questions that were being asked last time, it is a 6-foot diameter antenna that will be located at 106 feet up the existing tower. The Commission was asking last time what ODUs are. I gave him a call on that, and he said that they are basically the amplifiers that are behind the antenna, not visible. So there's 4 of those behind the proposed antenna, and then the LMR 400s are the wires that are running up the tower from the ground source where the little cabinet or storage building down below would be. So I did ask him to put together a little letter. Our code does require specifying a priority, and he has listed this as a priority 2. And as the letter shows, it will enable AT&T to provide 4G service from this existing site. The site is using a radio signal to connect the fiber optic site and function at higher speeds. So it's basically a connector between 2 towers from the way I understood him talking, but that's about as much as I want to get into detail on that.
And that's the letter dated from March 27th, it looks like, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And you can see there the different, the 7 classifications, that the priorities, I should say, that the city has in our code. We always prefer that it goes on a number 1 and further on down. So the number 1's being city-owned facilities, and if it is not a city-owned facility, then the priority list as it is. So he is a number 2.
Well, I'm all for co-location, as
Yeah.
opposed to erection of another tower. So.
Is that a motion?
Is that a motion?
I move to approve the application.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion is passed.
Okay, so they've got their tower, right?
Their improvements, okay.
Improvement to the tower. It says 25,000, okay.
Moving on to communications, with Nicholas absent today, do you want to work on the review of the Title 23 zoning code, or do you wish to push that off to the next meeting when he's here, since he had a number of semi-significant questions to ask, especially regarding the R3 and the EI?
I don't know. What's it up to everybody else? I think you should receive in your packet the Zanesville code that we were talking about, and I think the Lancaster one's in the mix as well for homework purposes. I think, right? There it is, yeah. And again, I reference these because the differences in R zones that exist out there. I think if you look at that Zanesville one, and I see the links up there as well, page number 4 talks about single-family districts with low density, medium-low density, medium-high density, high density. And realize that this is quite a few gradations past what we have. I believe there's a bulk controls there, and again, we didn't really want to get bogged down in that, but if you look at the bulk controls, RS 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 does not show too much difference on the bulk controls. I guess the height, width of the lots look different.
Is Zanesville similar to Athens in terms of the lot sizes, average lot size that?
I'm not sure offhand.
Okay, the bulk controls on page 6 says for an RS1, minimum lot area is 15,000 square feet for an RS1, which is low density. Their RS5, which is the highest density there, this is page 6 of 9, says 3,000 feet. So they actually bracket what we have. What's ours? R1 is 8,000?
8,000.
Okay. So when you start saying 8,000, really ours is like mid-range right there, somewhere between I feel like it's a toaster here, between the medium density and the medium-high density, if I'm reading it correctly. Because medium density is 8,700 square feet, medium-high is 6,500.
What's ours, John? 8,000?
8,000
Is our minimum lot size?
is our minimum current lots, yes, and then for new lots, new subdivisions, as we both all know that West Side, many of them are 40 by 100, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So half the size of the required lot size today.
Yeah, it's a lot of most of the lots platted in the city are running almost like 5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Somewhere between
40
50
by
by
120,
100.
something like that.
Yeah. Sometimes 40 by 120. There's a whole range of them out there.
So, using that, John, just as an example, if we RM2, which is the far right column in that Zanesville's bulk controls, that is their high-density multifamily residential district, that's their highest density residential zone. So if you've got an 8,000 square foot lot, you would be able to have roughly 5 4-bedroom units
Correct.
on that single lot?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was explaining, like Columbus does, where they say their R1, R2, R3 isn't necessarily meaning one house per,
Yeah.
or one unit per lot. It's 1 unit per quarter acre, or 2 units per quarter acre, or an R12 would be 12 units per quarter acre. So this is similar, they just broke it out to square footage.
And I see I probably neglected to include the parking and loading chapter. So that'll be another piece of, maybe we want to look at that down the road there and see what they are thinking about. Because really that's where we are most of the time, that's what limits it. I mean, if we start looking at something of this nature, we probably have to look at that. Again, page 6 and 9, the last column there says parking and loading is provided for chapter 1149, but I didn't put it in the mix. It didn't occur to me at the time.
Also says you can have up to 25 stories.
Woohoo!
Don't
Yeah.
think there's a 25-story building in Zanesville.
Probably not.
Not that I've ever seen from the highway with a few times I've stopped.
That I think's got to be a typo. I think that's 2.5.
Oh, okay.
It would have to be, because you can't do, it says 25 stories or 35 feet, so.
Yeah. Probably 2.5.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially since the highest density is 6 stories and their
Right.
mid-range is
Right.
3. 25 stories or 35 feet. I guess it's for hobbits or something.
25-story single-bedroom efficiency.
And really the reason why this, I don't think we'll get that deep into this right now, but the reason why I look at that is because, again, we were looking at like the Mulligan lot splits for R1 versus someplace else downtown. You have to start saying, what's the flavor of Oakmont versus, West Washington, or rather, I should say maybe Brown or First Street. They're all both R1s, but there's a whole different flavor to each.
Right. I can see us maybe, I don't know about all 5 of these coming into that, into play here in town, but definitely, you know, you got the Mulligans, which would probably be the RS1s or close to it. Then you have our newer subdivisions, UE, Oakmont, which could probably fall into the RS3, which is the 8,000 square foot lots based on our current bulk controls. And then you have pretty much the rest of town, in town, the old inner city lots, which would fall in somewhere between the RS5 and RS4. You know, based on the 4,500, 5,000 square foot range. Possibly even getting into an RS4 on the far east with some of those lots.
And if you look at, I think, just to jump around a little bit here, if we look at I think it's Lancaster piece, they also have different flavors too. I see they have a residential single-family estate district versus a single-family district. So there's an RE and an RS, if I'm reading it correctly. So I don't think this particular printout is showing me everything
I
I want
don't
to
see
see
it.
here. That's the next one back in there. It looks like there's a table here that's all messed up on this.
Well, frankly, I feel like I could hold up a mirror, but I don't feel like we're making much progress. You know, we started out addressing business zones, and the business zones got tabled, and now we're back into the residential as we speak. You know, there's new construction occurring that's seriously changing the face of Athens. And so I guess I'm just seeking some guidance. Are we going to attack the R1? Lock it down and go on to R2. You know, we've had the confusion with the business zones and commercial and what have you, so I'm just feeling a little lost.
I think the reason why we went from business down to R1 is because they are cupcaked into each other. So, you know, when you start talking business, and we're going to change that, but the things that are allowed in residential bleed into the business zone as well. I don't think we're going to make stunning progress here. I think we have to, we have to do it. Deliberation, whatever we do, because we know what the impact was. We know we want certain things to occur. I mean, there's discussion, of course, of bed and breakfasts, or even how to make it function so we can have something split on the on the Mulligan Road versus Mass and Heights or something. How do those fit, and even one's a B1 and the other one B1s, even that, whether we want to keep those or not. We were hearing the desire last time to keep those if possible. So your recommendation is not to move ahead?
No,
or
I just am sharing with you that it's kind of becoming a struggle, and I feel, and I think maybe other members feel the same, that there is this real desire to protect the neighborhood residential zones and how we go about doing that, so that they're not have further encroachments.
Okay, suggestions last year were a home ownership overlay zone, right? Is that doable? Is that where we want to go with that?
Is it
I don't think I want to see it.
okay?
Is the city taking the landlord's property?
No, I just don't think of ownership as a zoning zone. But I know there are people that want it. I wonder if there's not another way to do it.
It's a challenge. I mean, the majority of our city that's zoned to residential is zoned R1. We've limited to 3 unrelateds. That's the lowest we can go. Other than that, unless there's other changes or other hurdles to converting into rental, from a zoning perspective, that's a tough answer. That's a tough issue to address.
Well, I think, too, that we started out, I think maybe the tone was to see, to address some of the immediate problems that we're having, and that we wanted to rectify that. But I think as we've gotten deeper into discussions, we're finding things, from Lancaster, from Zanesville, from other communities. We're starting now to reflect and look out at other communities and seeing, well, what do we want to add now? What do we want to expand, contract? When we talk about the R2s, as far as what do you do with that zone? So I think probably the discussion has just expanded in terms of people now starting to incorporate maybe some of the additional desires that they want to do, and do we want to basically address all of that and get all that information in and then make a decision on going forward, or do we want to stay with the initial thought of just addressing this on a limited basis, which might be in one way a Band-Aid type of effect, as opposed to saying, okay, let's take this occasion to take a broad look at all the zones and see what we want to change, what we want to add, delete, whatever. So.
Well, I would agree that a comprehensive review is probably better than the Band-Aid, other than,
I just wonder if a comprehensive review wouldn't be better done by somebody outside or a professional, because I think that's an issue because there's so many agendas, and I can just see my agenda talking all the time. Like I, for example, think the university ought to all be colored one color. And we ought to just say that we don't have any jurisdiction over this area. Once you do that, then you say, oh my goodness, look at this place. If you add the green and the pink.
If you remember when Dale Bircher did his analysis in that section saying that the university, we didn't have say over the university.
We did not.
He said we did.
Yes, he said we
He
did.
said, why do you have the giveaway for government agencies to give a pass in terms of zoning? And at that time, what they did is they changed it. It's 230319
Yeah,
or
I
something
can't
like
even
that.
remember that.
Okay, essentially they said if they should try to follow the code whenever possible. If they can't, they should write us a letter telling us they can't. But Mr. Bircher's thing from 2000, which council spent $5,000 to have, was
It was
2 cents.
500, I think.
Oh, I think it was 5,000.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll check. I can check on that. We can check on that.
We'll check on that.
Well,
If it
for
was
instance, with
500.
some of the changes that they're intending to make on the south part of the campus, with new residence halls, with new green space, etc. One of the questions that I've come across just in my business is the streets that run through there. Are they city or are they campus?
Well, that's another question.
There's a blend.
So, I mean, that's...
We need to sort that out, too. You're absolutely right, because I was thinking the
we're
same
pretty
thing.
sure. We know where the lines
Oh,
are.
I know.
drawn
I just
there.
like to see it on the map.
I call the police, when I call campus police, city police, no one, we don't know. So it's just good question. Call university planning, things like that. It's just,
Yeah.
Well, I know the day-to-day operation where our utilities are. We have a very clear idea which roads are ours and which are theirs. In fact, I think we actually have some kind of working agreement. Sometimes they repair some of ours or clean some of ours. I know we have a shared cleaning system on this.
Which is individual, right? I
What?
mean, it's not necessarily formalized.
No.
Which is not,
Well, we have in the MOU, one of those that you signed is about existing infrastructure and utility projects, cooperative, and so it's more related to the water and the sewer. But we know where our streets are, and as it's designed right now, it's acceptable in this zone. R3 for their new housing plan. There's some discussion about building a loop road that goes around, and that indeed would then, like you're saying, RJ, but they would only be cutting off their streets, not our streets. Our streets.
what is the thing about the loop road?
It would go around behind South Green and then come up and then
In the
be-
floodplain?
and then be built on that unimproved Mill Street.
Oh, well, that's old. Okay.
That's just
They're just
extension.
going to pick it up and where. But there would be people that people that would have an interest in it that use that road. I mean, and I think that, perhaps rather than having it come out the day they close it, they might be advised to try and talk about what they're planning to do.
Well, we're in discussion.
No, I meant in the larger public arena. I mean, so people know what they're going to, I know it's a private road maybe, but they're state funded and, people feel that sometimes.
You talking about South Green Drive, or are you talking about the?
Yeah,
road that doesn't exist?
is it going to be on Stewart Street? And what will happen to Stewart Street? I guess I wonder.
Stewart's ours.
I know,
To a point.
to a point,
Yeah. somewhere
to that
close.
triangle
Jeff
we never
Hill
transferred.
kind of area, or not just past that, I guess. Is what
Just
it is.
past that.
And I
But
think
it's the
it goes
continuation
down.
that goes in front of
Shively.
Old South.
That is what that they will indeed close and make it the green space.
Right.
Front campus.
But that's already pretty
But
much
that's
closed.
theirs, yes. That's
But
like
it goes, I think the city's road ends about where it used to turn around by Shively, and I think we vacated that. So the rest of that must be theirs too, then, right? I do think, I don't think it's any reflection on anybody at this table, but I do think the larger public is interested in that, in discussions of this sort that would involve some change in the flow of traffic in town. I mean, certainly you look at some of the big messes that have been made. It's come because a small number of people made decisions that affected the rest of us.
Well, the VP of Students, Ryan Lombardi, did come to the town hall meeting and talked about this conceptually, at least, so we have had some outreach.
And I don't know, I mean, how many people probably even know that? 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000? All right, I'll stop. But I just think it's, well, we'll see how this election comes out.
But I see what you're saying, Nancy. If Ohio University was all colored one color, it gives you a greater view of what we have left in the city.
Which isn't very much.
But for instance, carrying that, if they are going to green the parking lot in front of Morton, that was part of the plan?
Do you recall Aspen's?
No, they're trying to move parking out to the periphery. I know that. I don't recall the specifics of where, or if they've gotten into the specifics of where parking in that central area would be located. I just haven't seen those plans.
Morton it would be by no person's definition central. I mean, it's about.
I'm sorry, that's what he was saying, that they're going to move it. Oh,
To
you don't
Morton.
view it as central.
I mean, how
guess-
could you view it as central? Central is the green.
Well, there's Clippinger, Morton,
Peripheral.
all those labs.
I mean, but they're also in the floodplain, and that's another
Right.
part of the bigger problem. A lot of this land that we're saying is R3 is floodplain, too.
Or plain and hillsides are
Yeah.
a problem to everything in this community.
I mean, I think there's virtually no place where we could expand R3. After I look at this, it's going to be even reasonable. And some of the ones we have marked in here, like they might provide that space, will not be adequate and will in fact
Yeah.
be a problem. I mean, if you start pulling out the floodplain, and I don't even care about the slopes, that's a whole other problem. We haven't really addressed that, I don't think, as a city very well. But, then you say, oh my God, there's nothing left. I'm just in that part in my class, so it's fine. I'm pulling it out and GISing it in my head and saying, holy Moses, this is bad.
Well, as you know, you can build in the floodplain, and they can also engineer out, as they've done. other
Except,
places
yeah, then they
outside the city.
engineer it out, and then in 10 more years, the floodplain is further inland, right? Just as the map you guys gave me last time. So what you do is you just place more water with that, despite their discussions. And, I think at a certain point, putting high density in the floodplain is probably a big mistake.
But I think, too, that the portion of the university's R3, it does, when I see the Zanesville and I see the Lancaster, we're actually seeing how the city is actually contracting in terms of influence that we have in terms of the zones. If we're saying that basically the university just needs to write us a letter, that, rather than getting so intricate with, RS1, RS2, RS3 over relatively small pieces of land, is that the way we want to go, or do you want to keep some flexibility within what codes what zones you have? Simply because we don't have the land to operate that Lancaster or Zanesville does.
Well, that's another.
Yes.
Annexations are a possibility in any community.
Yeah.
That is one way to look at it.
Well, when it makes economic sense, yeah.
Right. But we are buttoned in, there's no doubt about it. And that map that Nicholas requested, there's very little, even R3 that exists.
That's not developed.
Yeah.
Not
And
yet.
a lot of that, even on the south side, it's questionable whether that's even developable. And then there's University Estates area, which has its own problems that probably will not be solved for several years, if not longer. So then there's a question, if we don't want to change zoning, I think the comprehensive plan did say, it did recommend like an R4, a higher density multi-unit development zone. Where that would be located or how that would work out, offhand, I don't have a clue, but it is something that we could research if we wanted to encourage a higher density location as a response to seeing conversions in R1 neighborhoods. Another option would be to look at B or M zones and see if some of those need to be rezoned. But even those are,
Limited.
parkland and floodplains. And we need manufacturing zones as well. Those are economic tax base.
And I wouldn't be inclined, I've heard the R4 proposals in the past. I wouldn't be inclined to that. I mean, if people were so upset about the whole hill across from Walmart as far as view shed, now you're talking about taking, going vertical.
Well, yeah, and
It
the
probably wouldn't be there, though.
The R4 is, that was in the comprehensive plan, but I know the comprehensive plan review committee kind of was leaning against that, mostly because there's two things that hurt the R4, the higher density. One is the requirement for parking, one bedroom, one parking space. The other one, of course, is that they started looking, saying, originally this concept was, let's put an R4 down on Mill Street, and then all of a sudden we have way too many people down on Mill Street. And then, and the parking, paved the entire backyards. So all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe we're not going in the right direction for higher density of that nature. At least that's what I've been hearing from, people who looked at the comprehensive plan, people who are on the steering committee, and then looking at the Palmer Fest and the Mill Fest that are out there, and no place for them to play because of the parking and the higher density.
But also that was developed under a relatively lax enforcement of the zoning code, which we are still living with. Look at the Summit at Coates Run. Look at some other examples. Look at the Laurels. Those were all built without much regard to our code, quite frankly.
Well, when you say that, okay, the lax codes, we put Title 41 in to fix
Right.
Summit on Coast Run.
But the Band-Aid, we can't Band-Aid it over. It's there.
So that, hence why we're looking at the R1 zoning right now and saying, okay, do we want to make it, more restrictive, have more pieces to it so we know what parts we can actually, again, the start of our code says these are the minimum standards.
Right.
You know.
But it's built out, right?
Yes,
it
it
is
is.
really built out. So
Yes.
all of this is discussion is maybe, I'm almost around to agreeing with Paul. In a certain sense, what can we change?
Yeah. I've been struggling with the same thing while we've been having these discussions, especially over the last couple of weeks, as I started looking at the map more. We did drop the height about 5-6 years ago. It used to be I think R3s and B zones, you were allowed to have a maximum of 6 stories, and we cut that down to 3.5.
Yep.
Those heights are something that could be investigated, but I think everybody in this room knows that the word density is the 8th dirty word in George Carlin's routine if we apply it to Athens. And it's
But every time it's been applied, it's
Yeah.
been in totally inappropriate locations. And it's like more 2x4s added to the 2x4s that down
Right.
below. Really bad construction. And I think that one of the things we should probably do is start making them go to state. We probably can't. And this administration probably wouldn't go along with it. But, we really do need to have more inspection of these properties that are built 3 stories high, 3 apartments high along Stewart Street. They're just, I don't know.
Now, there would be, there's options out there to consider if we wanted to focus on higher density for some locations.
Which would those be?
Greater than 3.5 stories, or, up to 6 stories or something like that. It could be tied to design. among other things, to encourage
What areas
it.
do you have in mind, though?
Yeah, that's.
I'm
the
sorry?
question.
I don't have
areas
any
do
up
you
front. I'm just
Where?
saying
He's
there's
just
ways
giving
you
us
could
some
do that. I'm just
options.
thinking brainstorming concepts. I don't have locations in mind. It could be any R3, I guess, to start with and suggest that
That's not in the floodplain probably, right?
that's not in a floodplain. I mean, there's all kinds of requirements, but
Then
you
we're
know,
down to, and that's not built out, but.
there's no easy answers is what
And I think the
what we're all
noise is
saying here.
another part of it too, Paul. I mean, once you put another 3 stories on top of the existing buildings, then you're going to have the same noise problem you have on the North Hill area.
Yeah.
It's just providing us some options. That's what the planner is doing.
No,
I
I'm
would-
not, he knows I love him.
I would, for one, like to maybe revisit height. What seemed like reasonable, 3.5 stories, we'll find out is sticking out like sore thumbs in some places. So.
Well, I would like to revisit asking the university to provide housing for their students unless, because if you look at this map, what you see is, and, you know, I've been paid for a long time very well for doing a job, but my job wasn't to provide housing for students. And I do think that if you put this map in the paper, I think the citizens of Athens would be shocked at how much land and where it is controlled by the university and how few options we really have. I mean, actually, I came in here in pretty good humor, but I feel really mad about this map now. I mean, because it says we have such few, all right, so you say, okay, we're going to take this area over here, but of course you'll have to assemble all of those lots in order to have a parking place and not total coverage with impervious surface to build a 6-story building. Well, you know, who's going to do that? They're going to have to follow state laws. They can just go down and take another 1-story building and put 2 more stories on it, not follow the state rules, and there they are.
Well, I think they indeed get state-approved plans, and they
Oh,
actually
not
have
those,
to.
not the ones that are all along Stewart Street.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were off of the university now. We're back to.
Oh, the university,
Okay.
of course, has to get
Okay.
Stewart.
But, you know, what you were seeing with Stewart all the time is that the improvements, and again, these are all floodplain areas. So they always, lowballed the construction, highballed the cost, the value of the land, the property, so they wouldn't hit that 50% nonconformity and have to elevate. We've got a few on Mill Street that are, the old part's not elevated, the new part is, but I mean, at the same time. You know, so maybe the other alternative, if you want redevelopment, you want to direct this, is to change the grandfather status of these things, make it a harder bump. So any improvement that has to come through has to get conformity. But then you're going to have a degradation of the housing stock because nobody will want to do it.
Well, I think there's money to be made. It's just a question of what we ask of the people that are proposing to make the money.
And I realize this map is not totally complete because basically what you did build was the R3s on campus owned, university owned versus not. But you know, if I look, for instance, on sections of Union Street, they do have other possessions that are not just R3. They're business zones, they're other zoning entirely. If you start saying what does the university own, and you make the general map, it go all the way out to Holzer Clinic almost.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
But that's a different entity.
human
I was
resource
looking at
on
the
you-
R3.
What?
I only focused on the R3 zone.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about the shock value of putting a map and saying, what does the university own, and you highlighted all of that, it'd be a larger swath than what we're looking at. Think about where Athens Lumber used to be. HDL Centers now is part of that mix. The houses that went across from Factory to Moore Street, that were torn down. Whole sections of, the whole sections of were by the West State Street area too. I mean, right now it's designated as looks like an M right there, but the fact is they own pieces of that too. So and then to just say we will relinquish control with a note on zoning, maybe that's a fight we have to come back out.
Well, I guess I was supposed to provide to the members, the letter that I'd received at one time regarding a non-conforming. But since that time, we are doing staff reviews of their plans and projects. So I'll just.
But not zoning reviews.
Well, we try to make them work as best possible, but again,
I just wonder what kind of town it will be if 10,000 students are added.
well, if 10,000 students had dropped, what kind of town would it be too?
We've already seen that.
Yeah. That's the legacy we're looking at right now.
Well, calling us back to
Okay.
order here, since we've strayed a bit. Is there anything that we want to add right now, or do we want to maybe wait until Nicholas comes in here and further discussion? Okay.
Further discussion, I think.
Okay.
Continue it.
So
See what
table that. Do I need to take a vote on that, or just?
It's just continuing, isn't it?
Yeah,
I move we continue it next time.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to communications. See, Mr. Paskey, did you want to go ahead with your report?
I don't have a whole lot, especially we have 0 cases for the BZA next month, so there's nothing on the agenda. We will not be having a meeting.
Next month or this month?
This next.
This
April.
month, I'm sorry,
April.
this month. I forget what day it is. Yes, this month. So, and we're just gearing up for move out, which is earlier than normal, which will be the norm now.
Spring cleaner.
Spring cleaning, yes, spring cleaning is the week of the 22nd through the 27th, and household hazardous waste day is the 27th, correct? And e-waste
Correct.
is the 27th as well.
Same time.
So,
That's-
9 to 1 at the community center.
That's good.
It'll all be the same place and time. I think they also talked about paper shredding too. I think I saw in the mix, which is not hazardous, but full
Could be.
service.
Right.
And Athens Township's included in that.
correct.
Yeah, Anna did a good job.
So the city is taking over the responsibilities of the move out on the city properties since Mr. Newman is retired, and Tyler has been working with him, and we're moving forward. And I think it's been set up strong enough and well enough that we can just take it over from there. So, cross our fingers.
So there'll be multiple stations.
We have everything set up as it has been in years past with the same organizations and maybe even a little bit more. So,
I thought I got an email sometime a couple of months ago. Somebody talked about Move Out Matters. Was that Zach Hall? And are we working with that? I think that was at Royal Action.
we are, but they were not able to, they didn't really, how I say it, work with all the other organizations that want involved as well. They were kind of their own thing and internal and so on and so forth. So they're still, but they're not doing the big picture like they were hoping to do.
Okay.
So,
Just wondered. I remember seeing an email stream at one time, and then I didn't see it for a while. So I'm just
Right.
wondering where if it got dropped and picked up or transferred over.
we've been kind of relaying a message, let's not reinvent the wheel.
So if it's reuse, what they did do in the past, Mr. Paskey, is they passed out pink slips of paper, and people that wanted to donate things to the reuse assembly or assemblage just put those on with masking tape. And then it sort of got dropped in favor of Ed's thing, but it has been done in the past. So the garbage truck wouldn't pick it up, and they circulated their truck. And that did work. I don't know, I mean, I'm not suggesting that you go back to it, but that might have been,
The problem with that, it was still being set curbside. And by the time the garbage truck got there, it was either taken or tore up or vandalized or whatever may be the case. So,
that's recycling and reusing too, though.
so
Gets
if it's picked up,
If it gets wet.
the good stuff. The problem was the stuff that was left behind was all over the street and everywhere else. So we've got locations now throughout town where drop-offs can occur, and we're in the process of pairing every one of them up with food as well for food drop-offs at every one of those locations. And
The trouble was that the communication between the entities and about staffing didn't happen as often as it should have, being part of it at the food end in one place. But it worked out in the end.
Do we have stations available for students to drop off unwanted pets?
I want to say there was, on Ed's list that he had before, there was something on there. I do not know if it's on there for this year or if that ever developed. I will look into that. I did see on his list of contacts something in that regards, but
Was it DART?
I do not know.
We have a disaster animal relief team that would come in under a natural hazard to try to assist in animals, but maybe we can contact them.
I do not know.
But in
Yes,
that
it is.
situation, the student just tends to shoo the animal outside at that point, waiting for somebody to pick it up like that, or is somebody who would go to a house?
Oh, they
and
would
pick
go
up-
and get
go
the
to
animal.
house?
They
Okay.
have a committed group. So,
To my knowledge, though, we
Rescue
haven't had a
cows.
high
No.
problem with that occurring. So we haven't seen where pets are just being let go when everyone moves out.
I think Lana's reports, when we had them, supported that. You were correct. The bigger problem was in the county.
Mm-hmm.
The students weren't such a problem
Right. So,
back when we had
that-
an animal control officer.
Paul, anything?
Still waiting for a response from ODNR about when that public meetings, when those meetings will be held relating to the new flood maps. Communication I had with them this week said it'll either be late May or possibly into June when they will host that meeting. They're trying to finalize a date right now, but it'll be at least a month and a half out is the impression I got. There was a very well-written article in today's Athens News discussing those changes. It's probably a far better summary than I could give to the impacts of the new flood maps and how they'll relate to the Hocking River corridor. So pick up a free copy if you get a chance. That's all I have.
And you really haven't gotten those maps electronically yet.
I have not. Actually, I corresponded with them this morning asking for that because I would like to be able to pinpoint who are the newly affected property owners and try to communicate that to those addresses as soon as possible. I also asked if FEMA or ODNR or the engineering group who did the project, if they were planning to communicate with property owners as well, or if they were expecting the locals to do that, and if they're expecting the locals to, we need that information as soon as possible so we can start getting letters out and emails or whatever we need. So I just haven't received the digital yet.
And I think the annexation of the Columbus Road stuff is through council by now, I believe, if my memory's correct. Rezoning?
It was read Monday, but I don't recall the vote.
I think it was voted on. But it'll take time. It has to go in effect 30 days.
Columbia Gas. you
East
said
State Street, yeah.
Oh, you said Columbus
Oh,
Road. That's
okay.
Oh, Columbus Road, sorry.
Yeah, I thought, oh my God, what are we doing there?
What did we do there?
Okay, sorry, my mistake. Okay. No? Just wondered.
Okay. Paul, anything else?
No, sir.
There are no citizens here for addressing the commission. Announcements and other business. The next meeting will be April 18th here in the third floor at City Hall at noon. And is there anything else that anyone would like to bring up? Okay. Well, with that, is there a motion for adjournment?
Yep, we're adjourned.
I'll take